Hey everybody, it's Al with BobCAD. So today I wanted to look at a two setup part. This is the part geometry, the way that it was imported. We're going to run through some operations and look at both the first and second setups. So the first thing we're going to do is run a milling job. We're going to run the stock wizard here, and I'm just going to add a little bit of stock around the outside of the part. And then, let me see what else we have here. And we're going to leave some stock underneath the part. So I'm going to add about a, oops, wrong one here. About a 1/4 inch on the bottom. Alright, so basically the part's encapsulated in our stock. And then if we look at it from a front view, you can see we have something to hold on to from the bottom. Alright. Next, our zero position, I'm just going to pick up this back corner here. Looks pretty good. Okay, so then from here we're going to do a Z-level finish. So we're going to load 3-axis toolpath. We're going to select everything here. Our machining strategy, you have the standard Z-level finish. I'm going to use the advanced Z-level finish. Alright, we're going to use some size tool, so let's just say it's a 1/2 inch end mill. We're going to do an offset, zigzag, depth of cut, width of cut. Stock for finish is going to be 20. I'm going to drop my tolerance here, and I'm going to want to look at this section here in just a moment. Everything else looks fine, so let's go ahead and compute. And this is our roughing toolpath to remove the bulk of the material. Now, one of the things that I want you to notice is you can see how the toolpath is cutting all the way down to the bottom, and we don't want it to do that because we need to hold on to it from by some means necessary. So there's a couple of ways you can do this. What I'm going to do is I'm going to change this parameter right here. You have min-max from machining surfaces, min-max from stock, min-max from both. If I do min-max of machining surfaces, then what it will do is it will only cut where the model is. So you can see how it stops down here at the bottom. So that's going to remove the bulk of the material. The next thing we want to do is finish profile outside 2 passes. So let me go ahead and blank this out. So part of what we got going on here, and let me blank this too, is when we're doing 3D machining, it's really simple. We can pick this up. When we go to do 2D machining, we can use surface edges. So and sometimes you can get away with this, but we have this chamfer here, and that's kind of what's making this a little problematic. So if I come in here to a 2-axis routine, and I go to select my geometry, if I move in on the edge of the surface and I right click, you get constant Z and loop selection. If I go to constant Z, sometimes it will go all the way around the part, usually if it's a closed shape. In this example, it's not going all the way around the part. I'm not sure exactly why, but that is what I'm finding. So I can't pick I could go through and pick all the surface edges directly, but that kind of takes some time. So let's go ahead and cancel this, and what we want to do is we want to prep some of the geometry. We want to create some wireframes. So I'm going to add a new layer, make it active, utilities, extract edges single, and I'm going to pick up this face here, and I'm also going to pick up this edge there. Okay, so now that I've done that, I have 2 different edges. The reason why I pick both of them is I want to measure the first one, and the first one turns out to be in Z, it's 1 inch, and then I want to measure the second one, and the second one turns out to be 9,750. Okay, so what I want to do is move these up to the same level, and the reason why is if I measure between these two, if I go from here to here, I'm going to get this value 0.354. 0.354 is the distance if I join the line between here and here. It's actually the XYZ distance. So if I measure this and we click on that line, you're going to see the length is 0.354. but the XY distance is not that number. It's actually less than that. And what we do, if we measure this one here, measure entity, we measure this one here, you see it's 9750. So if we move this one up so they're on the same plane, or we could project it down to Z0, but in this case I didn't. So I'm going to say 1 minus 9750. That gives me the number to move this up in Z, so I'll choose OK. So now they're on the same plane. If I measure this, this one is at Z 1 inch, this one's at Z 1 inch. So now when I measure between the two of them, when I go from here to here, I'll get their XY value. In this case, it's 0.0250. Okay, so the reason why I did that is because now I just want to offset this shape. So I can go other offset 0.025, select this shape, and now I have that offset. Now that should work for the most part. The one thing you'll notice here is that it's getting rounded over in this section here. For whatever reason, this kind of comes to an angle instead of it being radiused over. I don't know how critical, whether that's within tolerance or not, how necessary that is. If it is necessary, we can come in here and delete that radius, and then we can trim these two up so that way it comes to a point. But again, it just depends on the tolerance of what you're working with here, whether that's critical or not. Maybe they wanted it rounded and didn't know how to model it that way. I don't really know, but I'll make that adjustment in the wireframe. So then now I have this profile. So from here, I want to come back over to mill 2-axis, select geometry. I'm going to shift click this, space bar, next, pick bottom. Let me see here. I think we want this to stop down at the bottom here, so I'm going to just click that edge. So we're at 1 inch, which is fine. Okay, so we want to do 2 passes, one taking 0.015, the final leaving and then 0.005 for the final. So what we're going to do is a rough pass. I'm going to get rid of the finish here. I'm going to do a rough, and then I'm going to, I'm going to do a rough, and then I'm going to do a finish. And then this one, I'm going to use a 1/2 inch end mill, standard profile. Let's see. Okay. Standard profile, we're going to leave this amount for this one. We're going to do it in one pass. We're going to add a lead in and lead out. And then we have our finish tool, leaving 0 for stock, and then I'm going to just use the same lead in and lead out for all of them, and I'm going to choose finish. Usually I would choose compute, but what I want to do is modify my start point. I don't know where your start point, where you want it. In this case, I'm going to move it over here. I'm going to make sure that it's going clockwise for climb milling, space bar, and then compute, and then that gives me my 2 finish passes to profile this. And the last thing I want to do is a 90-degree drill mill, so I'm gonna actually add that into this operation here. Let's do a chamfer. That'll be the last one, so I don't have to reselect the geometry. This is 90 parameter, pick bottom, pick that edge there. Alright, so that gives me my depth, and then my cutter position. This is a shift amount, so instead of cutting right with the tip here, you can cut more to the center, so I'll just add a little bit. And my lead, again, is going to be the same for all of them, and then I will finish, and then I will compute. So that gives me my profile rough, profile finish, and then I had my roughing over here, and those are all the steps that I've taken for the first setup. I'm going to save my file, and then I'll run this through a simulation real quick. Alright. So, let me get to here. So here's my tool and everything, and this is going to come and rough this out. Again, you could adjust your step over, your depth of cut, or what have you. So that's the first operation. There's the second, there's the third, and then there's the chamfer. So this is where we're at this point. The next thing I want to do is I want to save my stock. So I'm going to go to my Cut Sim tab, Save Stock. I'll go to Desktop, I'll call it Stock, and there we go. Alright, so from here I can close this out. Alright, so now the next step is to flip the part over and to machine off the bottom. Let's see, so we want to flip it wide profile to cut away the foot around the outside of the profile with 20 thou roughing margin. So I'm not sure exactly what we want to do there, but in the second setup I'm going to just flip the part this way. In the second, so I'm going to insert another setup here. Insert setup. I'm going to edit my setup location. I'm going to pick this same corner here. I'm sorry. Yeah, I got to flip it over. I'm going to pick this corner here. And then I want to align my Z, so I'll just flop the Y. I missed that point. Okay, there we go. Alright, so we have one setup where it's here, then we flip the part over, and we have another setup where it's there. From here, what I want to do is wide profile, cut away the foot around the outside. I'm not sure exactly what we're asking for here, so what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna grab this feature here and I'm gonna copy it, and then I'm gonna paste it, and then I'll select this profile that I have here. Okay, and then from here I'm gonna get rid of this finish pass. So let me go to my machining strategies, get rid of the finish, get rid of the chamfer. Next. Alright, and then in here I'm gonna leave 20 thou. And my leads, you know, I'm going to go vertical. And then my start point, let's go bottom. I'm going to move over here. Okay. And then compute. So that will just basically profile mill and drop that stock that was there. Then what I want to do is I want to face this off. So in order to, you know what, I need to set what my depth is. So let's bring this model back up, edit this, pick bottom, let's go to there. Alright, so that looks good. So that will clear most of the stock that's there. That will drop away. Now we want to face off this part. And, you know, let me see here. Let's blank these tool paths. Let's go to the bottom. So when we run the face cycle, we're probably using one end mill and we're going semi right down the center. So I'm just going to sketch. A center line like this. And I'm going to do 2 axis. I'm going to select that line, spacebar, next, pick bottom. I want it to go down to this face, so I'm going to pick that face right there. Next, I'm going to do a rough routine. Next, I'm going to load up a 1.5" mill, and we're going to say no comp. compute. That'll give me like a centerline pass. Didn't really measure the, let's see what the stock wizard says. Width is 2.09. So it's 4.228 or 4.0228, and this is 2. So I am just gonna bump this up tool size, and I'll probably want to add a lead in. So lead parallel 1.5. So that way we make sure that it gets the whole thing. The last thing we need to do here is we need to face 60 thou per pass. Alright, so let me go back to this one here. Parameters 0.06. Alright, so we can compute that. So now it gives us 60 thou pass. And then we want to chamfer around the outside. So what I'm going to do again is I'm going to copy this feature here. I'm going to paste it over here. I'm going to reselect this profile geometry. I'm going to modify my start point, get it cutting in the right direction. I'm going to edit this feature, and I want to just get rid of the other settings. And then I want to compute. And that will give me what I'm looking for. Okay, so from here I have this work offset and this work offset. If you look at these features here under posting, you can see it says work offset number 1. So I'm going to change that to work offset number 2. Maybe, I don't know whether this is the same vise or a different vise. So I'm just going to make sure that these are all set to work offset number 2. And from here, I'm going to go ahead and save the file. And then I'm going to run it through a simulation. Take a look at what's going on. So we have the roughing, profile finish, chamfer. Well, that went really fast, so let me do that again. So rewind, slow this down, go to this op here. Alright, so now this is when we're in the second setup. So this is gonna just profile around the part, and it's gonna drop this extra material. We're leaving 20 thou, I think it is. Okay, so then we face it off down to size. Alright, so I don't have my chamfer depth set correctly, so let's go set that. So we'll come into here, edit, pick bottom, come up, grab this shape, grab that edge there, go ahead and compute. Alright, then we'll run this through the simulation again. And so let's jump through to this op here. Here we can see it's on the bottom. Looks like my depth is off a little bit, so let me blank this out. Okay, so what I want to do is I want to change my top apart to being this edge, and then I want to pick my bottom apart to be in this edge, and then compute. So now that looks like that's cutting in the right area. So let's go ahead and simulate again. Jump through to here. There we go. So that's some of the workflow you can use. I didn't end up using the STL stock. I wanted to use that as another another setup where I was going to simulate in another setup. Maybe I'll cover that in the next video. If you guys have any questions, comments, feedback, please reply back to the Facebook, the YouTube, or whatever thread this video may be posted in. Otherwise, we'll see you in the next video. Thank you so much.